Tell me about when you were a kid in Logan. Tell me about the time Ike and Boyd threw you in the lake or the river because they didn't want you tagging along.
I don't remember. That's the beauty of being old. You just don't remember. Do it to your in-laws.
I'll get them soon enough. I want a story out of you.
Well, this won't be. You'll get the map. Because if it's on autofocus. No, I don't know any stories yet. I'm just.
Aw. You've told me lots of stories.
No, no.
Let's get some pictures of those folks.
That's what you forgot.
Then Donna was asking me last night. I thought you did.
Well, we'll have to get somebody else's pictures.
I didn't bring mine. It makes sense.
He just wears them.
I can still hear good enough. I'm not going to fool with him.
Your doctor told me to get some too. I have hearing loss in both ears.
Well,
What doctor? My ear doctor.
if I can't hear them, I'll meet at dinner. Well, then I'll get some hearing aids.
Oh, I just watch people talk.
Well,
Read their
about all
lips.
you can do is just nod your head once in a while, and sometimes you look intelligent as you can. Make them think. You can't hear a word they say, but you have to go along with emotions.
Sometimes the replies are hilarious. Too.
Huh?
Sometimes your replies are hilarious. Mine too. I practice.
Sometimes you laugh when you're telling a serious story.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear.
Sounds like an airplane. Look up there. He jumped from one tree to another. Squirrel.
Yeah, we get squirrels. We used to have
It's
a
a
million
bright one.
chipmunks. And you know why I don't think we don't have it anymore? Why?
Decon.
Huh?
Decon.
I think that's the reason.
What got him?
We put decon in the place every year for the rats, and I think they, I'm sure they, some
How much snow did you get here in winter?
Oh, about 9 feet sometimes.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, there is. It stays in here for real good.
Then this has ice on it? Oh, winter?
Well, no, there's no
The
lake
ice
there.
fish on the
They
Cascade.
let the water out, and during
Ray,
that. Huh?
they don't completely empty Cascade. They ice fish up here every year. Ron and Tootie come up here and ice fish right over here.
Is that right?
That's right.
Do they patrol? The policemen patrol these peninsulas here to keep the burglars? And
They must do, because we have never ever been bothered. Never have. Gilson's broken into, but not this year. But over on the West Mountain, that's out of Cascade going around the other way, the other side of the down the bottom part of the reservoir. There's a big development up there over the trees that the hippies get in there and they just have a murder time all winter long. They can eat food there.
They keep the roads open?
Oh yeah, they keep the roads open because there's school kids here. They keep it.
They'll get that around there. And it's a lot better for roping.
Yeah, I've heard about cowboys losing the use of their thumbs and fingers and stuff.
That's the way they lose it, taking those dally welts on the saddle horn.
Yeah, I've seen those things. They're Mexicans, but did the white cowboys use those things too?
Not very much. No, they like this.
They like to get the thumbs cut off.
Yeah. And then now they've got so they tie. So they tie the rope. And so when they rope anything, they just let it go. They just jerk it to couple of loop ties, you know. And when it hits the end of the rope, why, it's up to the horse. The horse is supposed to be trained so he, because he knows when that they hit the end of that, it's going to, those cinches are going to pull up on him, you know, so he gets down there ready for it.
Well, Ray, tell us about those days you're in Los Angeles when you were younger.
What about him?
Well,
I was young then, all right.
you were young, but you and Hazel got married when you were how old?
Oh, I was in the Navy. You mean violent?
Yeah,
I was 20.
Were you
and you were in the,
I don't know. I believe I was.
and you were in the Navy for how?
I had to be 19 or 20.
You were there for a whole year, weren't you?
I thought you were about 17 or 18.
Well, I went through 4 years of school before I found out that I couldn't graduate, and I was in the top half of the 12th year. I was in my senior year, and lo and behold, I found out that I didn't have enough English credits to graduate. See, I started my high school training in Logan. I guess I went there 2 years. But anyway, I got down there and didn't have I was too dumb to do it myself, but somebody in the home room there should have told me that I need this much more English to get my degree, to graduate. Sure enough, there's no way I could have done it. Huh?
From high school.
Yeah. I didn't graduate from high school. I went there I was in my senior year, but I just didn't have enough English. I took too much photography.
And there was no one to advise you and tell you as you were going along?
Well, that's what the homeroom was for. We'd go there for study for half hour, but they
They tell you what it's too
simply
late.
didn't have enough. You know, no, I had to go a full more year to get my enough English credits. English is what threw me. I had to have that many. But I took like 4 units of photography there the last year and a half, I guess. It's because I wanted.
You got that right in high school.
Huh? Yeah, oh yeah. Photography, yeah. Hazel suggested to put that right here. There.
I lost track of Ray. None of the family knew where he was. And I knew where the last place he was, and that was up in Weezer. And I wrote the sheriff up there, and I told him to set up, and I asked him if he please kind of check the records or anything he wanted to check to find out where Ray Robinson. And he wrote back, and there was no Ray Robinson around there that he knew of. We could find out. But you know, he was had a photographer shop right there in the town of Weezer.
Yeah, it was Robinson Photo Studio. That's what it was.
Well, he didn't know very much, did he?
That was one stupid sheriff. Finally, I was about ready to go up there because that was the last place I knew where he was. And none of the brothers or sisters had heard from him for months. And finally he put in an appearance, let his voice be heard. He was married. And
That's when he married Violet, right?
no, that's when he married Hazel.
Oh.
First time I saw him, he was way out there south of Los Angeles. And Sheila was just a little thing that could toddle around, barely walk. And that's the first time I'd seen Ray since, well, he came through Washington once with his monkey or Navy suit on. and he was thumbing his ride through the highway going to Los Angeles for some reason or other. And he stopped at my place then. But right after that, nobody knew where he was or couldn't even find him. I tried to get Ray to water the garden. No, by hell, he said, well, we'll water that garden. I said, listen, I can't water it. Nobody else is here to water it. He said, I don't care. He says, you can just beat the hell out of me. I'm not going to water that garden.
You mean?
That was you.
You don't remember a thing about that, huh?
No.
You can't remember that? No. Oh, my. I don't know how it got watered, but the garden still lived anyway. But I had to. Because what I'd do, I was getting 40 cents an hour for hand-picked labor on this Cutler Dam. It was damming Bear River off is what it's doing. Going through the cut toward Tremont.
You got yourself into a real job, huh?
And I getting 40 cents an hour, but I had to spend 75 cents for a round trip on the with the bus to take all us workers over there and bring us back at night. So I didn't end up with very much money at the end of the day.
Daddy.
It's close to Tremont.
Oh.
It's where Bear River, or maybe Logan River, joins and goes through to Winter Salt Lake.
I see.
But me and all of my friends, we heard they was going to put on men over there, and we just high school flunky kids. We went, all of us got on, every one of us got on, and we was up on different levels, shoveling, just picking this dirt down. That was before the days of bulldozers or anything like that. They had to pick all this dirt loose and get down to the rocks and then blast it. They're loosening this dirt with a pick, and then a guy with a team would come along and take it away from us.
With a Fresno.
And one of my friends, he was always doing this on his shovel. The boss down there about 150 feet below us, he says, "Hey, you up there." He says, and the guy says, "You mean me?" And he was the one that had his, "Yeah," he says, you're the one." And then another guy, my friend, he'd say, "You want me too?" "Yeah, you can come too." They went through the whole damn bunch, all but me, and I just had a hunch that I better just keep on pecking. And I did. And every one of them was taken down there and given their time. He just could see he had a lot of school kids on his hands.
Yeah, getting smart.
But when the school started, I asked the boss if I could come out and work Saturdays. Yes, he said, "I'll let you." My number was 756, and I'd be working there, and a guy on horseback, he'd holler to one guy and another one and know the number so he could put it down in his time book. And I yelled down to him, 756. "No," he said, "I mean the number that means you." And I said, "That's me." And then some guy over there, he said, "That's right, his number is 756. He's the guy that licked the Chinaman." And I did. I licked the Chinaman out. He was somebody's pet from the University of Utah. And he got on there, and there was little tin crapping cans down there sitting on the level.
Yeah.
And I went into one of them to do the job that was called for, and a few of my friends was up there eating lunch underneath a tree, and one of them threw a rock down there and hit that tin shack, you know. I opened the door and I said, "The next guy that does something like that, I'm going to come up in there and I'll fix him." And with all my friends, all except this Chinaman. He was a student at the University of Utah. And right when I was looking at it, he took the big rod and threw it down there and hit the toilet.
He did?
Yeah, it hit the toilet. And I buttoned up and crawled up the hill laboriously, and he just stood there just like this sphinx, wondering what I was going to do to him. I come right up as soon as I got right with him. I put both hands right around the back of his neck like that, and then I pulled him to me, and we just rolled right down that hill. One over the top of the other, and when I got to the bottom, why, he was laying right here, and he with his teeth, he socked into right in the muscles there, and I loosened him up some. I just gave him a good swat right in the ear with punched this way, you know. He let out a scream, and I was dragging him over to the copper dam. They call it a copper dam. It had the whole river in it, and I was going to throw him in that, and the guy stopped me. This boss says, I wish these guys had left you alone so you'd throw that. But I didn't have it out with him. I still want more of that Chinaman. I want to give him a good thrash, and I still had really something to contend with here, this fight. And so I waited down the trail there. I got in ahead of everybody, and I just waited till he come down. As soon as he could see me down there, there was no place for him to get down there except down that trail. And as soon as he got about 20 feet from me, he started begging.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he said, don't hit me, don't hit me. I'm sorry I did it, I'm sorry I did it. But you know what they did to that guy? They gave him a saddle horse to ride around, just ride around to see different crews operating. He had no responsibility. The boss
Was
gave
that
it
your
to him.
fault? Huh?
And you know, the promotion I got was just another shovel. You know. I was so put out about that. See, this guy was somebody's pet. I don't know whose pet he was.
He worked for us in studio for $50 a month.
He sold papers for the Desert News, and he'd make more money in one day than I would. Just hollering. No, Salt Lake Tribune. That was it.
Well, I tell you Desert News too. Salt Lake Tribune in the morning, and but I bought my Tribunes from Watson, but I had the Desert News, and I sold it to the other guy. I was the wheel at the Desert News.
I remember our brother Pat. He would go by as many as he would take. He had to sell them, or else he'd lose so much on each paper he had. But when he'd be coming home with maybe one paper left, he would hear his clear voice yell out from one block to the other, Salt Lake Tribune, and just sing right on into people's homes.
Well, he couldn't have been any more than 6 at that time.
Well, how old were you?
8, I think.
8?
I don't know.
You had a stronger voice then.
Well, I sold the Tribunes too, but Pat started when he was 6, I think, on the Tribunes.
He always had money.
You always had.
You remember them?
You was always the luckiest guy I ever seen.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's brains.
We'd be
Solid
walking
brains.
down the street together, and you'd walk and pick up a quarter, and I never would see the guy.
I remember that.
Do you remember the Diana Dollar and the Wilmington?
I was just going in the cake.
Huh?
Diana Dollar. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The Dirty Dollar. You was on board that, and I was
on board the Diana Dollar. You was on the Wilhelmina.
Wilhelmina, that's right. Yeah, I got the Wilming, but
What were you doing?
strike breaking.
Yeah, we were
You were scabs.
We
You
were
were-
scabs on
were
the
you on a
1934
boat?
Marathon.
Oh yeah,
strike.
yeah. They'd kill you if you got off. Fact the matter is, there's we was hauled from one boat to the other with speedboats. We was hauled from one pier on the water because you couldn't walk down the street. Those stevedores would wipe you out.
They'd kill you.
But they issued pick handles, And every time you went, why you'd have your pick handle beside you with the lunch when you went from one boat to the other. And they had these rum runners hauling the cruise, you know, from one pier from the hotel ship. In my case, Wilhelmina, and Ike was on the Diana Dollar. But they'd haul us from one pier to the other wherever we was working. We all had pick handles. But the boat I was in was never bothered, but there had been. There's a guy got killed with a stevedore hook in his ear. Nice way.
There was night crews, they would get shot at.
Huh?
Night crews would get shot at.
Yeah, they would. But there was, you know, the funniest darn thing happened to me. I was driving one of those rigs, you know, one of those those things to haul buckets to haul cargo, and I went the wrong way. And I'll be damned if I didn't go out right out in the street. And those guys, the strikers, were out there lined up. And I realized immediately after I got out, and I just turned it around real quick and kept
You know, that happened to me.
It did?
Same thing, it did. The boss, I was driving a little Fortune tractor is what it was.
Yeah.
Pulling
Same with me.
trailers behind it. He says, go over to Pier 14 or 16, whatever it was, and he says, bring back some scows. Now I thought, well, the only way to get to Pier 16 is go out in the street and go to Pier 16. But instead of that, they had a thing they called a bulkhead there. That's the one nobody could even see it. But I'd go out this main gate, Matson line is what it was. And those policemen stepped back and let me go out. And I got out in the street and going down to that pier. And I saw these angry strike breakers just roaring and the policeman holding me back. And somebody told me damn quick I better turn around. I did. I just spun the thing. But when I was turning, I darn near run over some of these guys' toes. Yeah. But the only way I can think of it now is that they was taken so much by surprise as to what happened there. It happened so quick. They didn't know what to do. But when I was going back toward this gate, I figured any time I'd receive a knife and throw it right in my back or a shot. When I got back to this big gate, these cops just divided and let me go right in. And the boss of the Matson line, this whole pier there, he hunted me up and he says, just what in the hell was you trying to prove? I was going at these cows and I didn't know how to get over there. But I've learned since then how to do it. And I didn't know it then, but they told me after they said he can't fire you. See, it was the Waterfront Employers Union that was hiring us, scabs. And they says that guy can't fire you at all. But next day I was pulling that little Fortune tractor around a corner there, and those scows stacked up about 40 feet high. It looked like it. And the back trailer there, the cart, it just ticked that thing, just barely, and it just started going this way. And it got tired and just went clear across the whole pier inside. And there, clear at the end there, right where it was aimed at, was this guy that gave me such a dressing down that couldn't fire me. And he just stood there, and those scows just went just like a deck of cards, just across that deck, and they stopped right to his toes. He wasn't going to move, but they stopped there. He just looked at me and he turned around, shook his head, and went back into his office. The boss of the crew, the foreman and me, he had charge of 12 men. Well, he said, let's see, he said, we'll put you down in the hold where they can't see you. But I read that what it cost the shippers to unload this cargo. It cost damn $6 or 50 cents a ton for a union help to unload it, and it cost, when they employed guys like me, scabs, $6 a ton. See, $6 a ton.
Did they pay you a lot more, or they pay you the same wages they did the union guys?
Oh yeah, I made more money there than I ever had up to that time.
I was working in a tire shop, the Coast Rubber Company. We was in Los Angeles, and I read in the paper they wanted tire builders at Coast Rubber Company in Oakland, and I didn't have any way to get there, and Ray didn't have a job, so I went to him and I said, Ray, it sounds like they want me to come build tires. Let's go to Oakland. And he had the car, and we went to Oakland.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Dodge turtleback thing.
That one Boyd and I got up here, I guess it had to be 26 Dodge, wasn't it? Silent starter.
No, but it had the rumble seat, but no seat on it. But anyway, we got there the next morning, and both of us went to work. You went to work as a stock boy, taking these rolls and hanging them up.
Yeah, I remember working in that tire shop. I was just thinking of that tall, blonde fellow that was our boss. You remember his name?
Yeah, no.
I remember his name, and I'll call him that day or two. I remember that guy very well.
Yes, I do. I can't remember his name. But anyway, you didn't like that job. But I had to stay with it. But you got on this scab thing, and you'd write me a letter about every week saying you're just crazy if you don't come over here and go to work. I think it's $1.25 straight time and $1.50 overtime. And I told Ruby, I said, if that thing is in the paper Monday morning, come Monday morning, I'm going. But you gave me strict instructions how to get there and how to apply for a job. You said, don't tell anybody anything. Just walk down a certain street, you come to a pier, and then you'll see a little lumber shack built down there about 100 feet from the street. And you turn down that sidewalk and go right there and don't ask anybody any questions. And I could see why.
Yeah.
Because those guys were strikers, see?
Yeah.
Stevedores. They were ready for any guy like me to
Yeah, you bet.
job.
They want to stop you before you got in there.
I went into this little lumber shack and I told them I was ready to go to work. And answered the ad. Did you have a job for him? Oh, you bet we have. I said, I'd like to get on the Queen Wilhelmina. Well, you really haven't got any choice, they said, so they sent me to Diana.
Yeah.
But I ran across you once there.
Yeah, I remember that. Only once, was it?
Just once.
Were you on the Queen Wilhelmina?
I was on the Wilhelmina, yeah. But you go where they tell you to.
How long did you work there?
I worked there long enough to save $530. That's all that I remember real for sure at. And that's when we went farming, when we got out of there.
Yeah.
Oh,
You got out of there
that was enough to start farming.
Yeah, but that was a lot of money at those times.
You went out and bought a farm?
Well, no, Ike and I went down, we leased a farm in southern Utah, Washington. How come we lit in Washington, do you remember?
Yeah. We went to Washington. We was going to leave.
Oh, we had worked there, hadn't we? On the road job.
Yes.
With old Morg Adams. Sure, that's how.
But we was going to raise bunch radishes and onions and carrots, and in general upset the market up there in Salt Lake.
Yeah, but you guys were going to raise them already bunched, and you found out you had to raise them and wash them and bunch them, huh?
You know how much it cost us to get those things bunched? Those women just knew when we were going to bunch. We just let out the word. And we had plenty of bunchers down. Those women would come to work for 12.5 cents an hour. We didn't set those wages. It was set by the...
Doesn't your conscience bother you?
No, because we didn't make much more. We made less.
That was good money.
In those days, 12.5 cents
That's
was
a
a lot of
quarter
money.
for only every 2 hours. Well, hell, the day's got a lot.
Here's $1.
That's
for
more than we made walking all day selling
Oranges.
oranges.
Yeah, we settled oranges, didn't we?
Ray, what about that? When you and Dave sold oranges, I've heard something from him about it, but I haven't ever heard your version of it.
Oh, all you gotta do is go down and pick up oranges at the market, put them on the fender, tie them on the fender, and go with a bucket, load them up, and go and sell them from house to house. Dave was putting garage oil on roofs.
There was just block after block of little factories there, and Ray used to parade up one street and down the other, asking each little establishment if they putting on help. No help. Ray come home once and walked in, and he said, well, he says, the work's all done, so why worry? Gosh, is in a time of the Depression where you couldn't buy a job. See, you just couldn't buy one.
There wasn't any money.
There was not any job. There wasn't any money.
Well, Clyde Henderson, he sure would like to see the day when he'd have grease in the gravy again.
Grease in the gravy?
There in Washington,
See, when you make gravy, you have to make it out of the drippings or the grease.
And Progress Administration.
I guess they were just having thickened
and the city of Washington
water
decided
there
they
for
was
a while.
going
They didn't have the
to
grease.
line their ditches with broken rock. They'd break these rocks by sledgehammering them, and after beating on a rock about 100 times, then the last hit on that rock, it was a different sound than the previous hits. And every one of those guys, they'd say, there it goes, and the next hit would break it open, just like a knife.
Yeah, you make a different ring. Yeah.
But Frank Staley and Sproul, they was spearheading. They was the town captains.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to get just as much money or good out of the people as they could. And it
Of the
wasn't-
WPA. Or
Yeah, we really did. We gave a good day's work there, but they wanted us to take our lunch out to this Bowery where they was breaking up these rocks, and we rebelled on them. No, we're not going to take a lunch. We're going to come in on the truck. We'll only be an hour, but we'll go to our homes and we'll eat our lunch, and then we'll come back. Andrew Sproul, he got so angry about it. He was 20 years older than the rest of us. He started jumping up and down right there on the street, and he says, well, why won't you bring your lunch? And Chris Connell says, because you can't take gravy sandwiches in a paper sack. So Andrew knew he was licked right there. The battle was over.
Yeah, the stories going on about the million of them about the guys just didn't work. There's the guy, he really had to go, and there's a whole big line of them in front of there. And what are you dancing for? I'd have to go to that toilet. Well, go ahead, there's nobody in there. They was just lining up.
Well, those were rough old days. I remember the people that came from Oklahoma,
Yeah, that's right.
to Los Angeles. They were from the Dust Bowl, and their crops were taken, and they didn't have a thing to live there for or to eat.
Yeah.
And so they just worked their way until they got to Los Angeles, and there they stayed. And it was a
Well, there was already enough of us there without work.
Well,
so
you read The Grapes of Wrath.
Yes.
that was it.
That's exactly
That's exactly
it.
what happened.
I worked in the fruit orchards in Marysville, along with the Okies. And they just set up their tents or camps or whatever they had, and that's all it was. There was no facilities at all. And we just picked peaches and for the farmers for a few cents a bushel. I don't remember what it was, but we was working.
I was working for the Anchorage Farm there in Portland.
In Orland? Yeah.
There's a big farm. I don't know any group of people could have had so much land. They just had hundreds of fruit, nuts, and all that sort of stuff. Big packing sheds, and I was in this packing shed, in the almond shed they call it, and I'd have to weigh the products, the labor of these women who would be sorting these almonds out, getting the meats out, you know, and I'd have to keep track of those boxes for about 40 women. And there was always a big fight at the end of the day between me and the women.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I did more than that, I did more than that. I said, well, that's tough luck. But the boss would always stick with me. But those Okies were there.
Yeah.
And then there was some suitcase farmers, too, from Kansas. They would go back to Kansas and harvest their grain, and while they was there, they'd plow the ground and put in another crop, and then come back and work in Anchorage Farm again. It was just family after family that did that.
Well, I'll be back.
And
I never heard that.
there's two Okies there, though, that tried to snooker me. They could see I had this Dodge truck. It had, you'd call it a dog catcher's truck because it had big screens on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it all planned that they would take a couple of these bags of almonds, take them over, throw them over the fence, and I'd be coming along about 2 o'clock in the morning, just exactly right. And they told me where these sacks would be, and we'd all split on it. I said, well, I heard this story, and I said, well, you guys just count me out. They were snowed in.
It was Anderson's. Fitzgerald's, right.
Right, big 2,800-acre ranch.
Yeah.
That got to be the foreman of it. It was just being sold from Fitzgerald's to 3 other people. One of them was an attorney. His name was Davis. And Davis offered Dad a third interest in that ranch. He said it was 5 or 6 years.
Really?
Yeah. It was during the war, when the war was around. And Mom wanted him to do it. But Uncle Bill, he had him on Hagerman, Idaho.
Hagerman?
Hagerman.
Wonder how he knew about that.
Well, that's where he was.
Oh.
Lived at one time.
I see.
We were supposed to go there to buy a big farm. Dad didn't want a farm. He had 20 acres across above the ditch and 10 acres below, but he wouldn't even farm it. He'd go out and dig a well or something.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like the farm.
Well, where did Fallon and Ely, Nevada come in?
Okay, we started out to get over those mountains, decided we just couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So they heard there was some construction work taking place, reclamation taking place in Fallon, Nevada. So we went there, and they all got jobs. The man did. We landed in a grove of cottonwood trees where there was a swamp there.
Yeah, it was a creek. It was a kind of a creek with the water snake, millions of water snakes.
It was water snake.
Yeah.
We'd be poking around in that dam pretty soon, those big snakes come out and say, but we had a raft there.
That river's still there. And I remember the same type of a country. But I go through there all the time. But from there we went to Ely.
No,
Or was Ely on that trip at all?
no, we didn't go to Ely at all.
Let's get you dressed.
When we left there, we went to Portland.
Oh yes.
And then
That's where I seen the first electric
they had,
light. That's where I seen my first electric light that I ever did see. And a flush toilet
Gotta watch him, huh?
in Portland. I remember that real quick.
Did you try
Well,
to drink out of the bowl?
Huh?
Did you try to drink out of the bowl?
No, not. I did think it's kind of peculiar. Somebody messing the
Yeah,
house.
you might turn it off.
I
think it's
figured
probably
they
enough
should
heat
do
there
that
for
outside.
That's what the Indian did. And he kept bringing somebody some water, and they wanted some more, and he says, no, the well went dry.
I was there at Portland. Dad was working in the shipyards.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, and he told Jack and me, he said, why don't you go over to that greenhouse, man, and tell him you're two good working boys and he'd like to hire you and so forth. So we went over and mentioned that we were two good working boys. Would he like to hire us? Sure, betcha I would. So he put us to work in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Well, all went pretty good for about 3 or 4 days, and then he had to go into Portland for some reason. He left us there, and that was his mistake. Jack proceeded to get in a fight with me for no reason at all. We ended up throwing pots at each other, potted plants.
With the plants in them yet.
When that poor Greek come back and took a look at that greenhouse, he just started shaking his head. He canned us right away.
Yeah.
And he didn't pay us. Dad says, you go back and tell that Greek that doesn't pay you, your father's going to settle it with him. So we went back and told the Greek that was going to happen to him. He paid us.
Yeah.
If I was him, I wouldn't have paid a dime cent.
Well, he should have charged you for the broken pots. That's what he should have done. Right?
Well, where was we, how come we was at Ely? I thought it was on the same trip.
No,
We went to Ely, Nevada and worked on we lived in a tent on the bottom of that thing and we used to have to go up on the hill and get warm in the morning.
we was living with the Dallies in
That had to be
in Logan.
after Logan.
That was in Logan. Then we left to go to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And that's when we ran out of money from Ely, so Dad and Jack and I went to work on the road there to get some more money. And Junie was a little girl just getting over the whooping cough. She looked terrible, absolutely. Her eyes looked that big. And she was so skinny, and Mother was so worried about stopping there at Ely. There was not even a shape in this place where we camped. It was just a dry wash.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Mother was so worried about having Junie leave that part of the line because there's no cow's milk there. So Dad said, well, we'll 3 days, if we see any difference in it, we'll collect their money. We worked 3 days and took a confab about Junie and decided that she not only wasn't any worse, she was maybe a little better. And she was better. We stayed there exactly 30 days. And during that time, Junie got fat on condensed milk. So I can see the reason why she got that way. Was that condensed milk is so loaded with vitamin A that it's just, you can't cram anything into it naturally. It's just full of it. In fact, they use this stuff to vaccinate calves now to cure them.
That regular sago milk? Regular canned milk?
Canned milk. Sago. Canned milk.
They vaccinate cows.
They vaccinate calves to cure them from pink eye. Calves get pink eye, and it's very contagious from one to the other because they're always rubbing each other. It'll spread through the whole herd if you don't take care of it.
You're supposed to eat breakfast, Peter.
They get it bad in their breakfast. But this vitamin A, 10 cc shot into them, just their system there, it cures them.
I'll be darned.
But when we reached San Francisco, Junie's hair curled up like a little sheep and stayed that way.
Yeah, I remember.
He was the cutest little thing in the whole Italian neighborhood.
You stayed in an Italian neighborhood?
That wasn't, you bet, a whole bunch of walks.
Yeah.
Although there was a Hyacinth O'Leary. You remember him? Hyacinth O'Leary, the Irish, red-headed Irish kid. Worthless. You don't remember him?
You're gonna have some great hair.
I worked there.
Or is it
I went and got a job.
Yeah. So did Donna. You worked for the Glaze Food Company there.
That was
didn't
me
you?
for the glaze.
Did you work in the same place I did? I was under the impression that you had that job.
Let's see, I worked in a box factory.
That's right.
A box factory.
Remember that Polak taught you how to say Langnia corruptus.
Oh,
Remember that?
no.
That's means long box
Oh,
in Polish. I don't know why I remember that.
This California Glaze Fruit Company was really a classy joint. That is, they put out some really good candy. Took the top prize.
Yeah.
And in this building, it was an old building, I'd see up on the beams going across there, great, enormous rats.
Rat, yeah.
They were bigger than any rats I've ever seen. And the shipping clerk, he was the boss too, and he says, I'm going to fix that. He brought his big tomcat down there. The tomcat was dead the next morning by those rats.
Is
The
that
guy thought
right?
he killed him, yeah.
Ain't that?
That's the ship rat, poor rats, they call them.
Yeah.
They're bigger than these inland rats by quite a ways. Maybe they're just better fed, I don't know.
There's lots of varieties of rats. Norway rats, as I think they call them, what we have in L.A. Norway rats.
Oh, is that it?
I think so. But I don't know what the wharf rat is. They're the ones that climb up the ropes. That's what they put those big steel.
And then we did it almost 2 days, and then they decided they better clean up just to see what she was going to make. And heck, the sluice leaked like a sieve. Splashed some quicksilver in up the head. They couldn't help it, a lot of it just dropped through those.
Yeah.
Well, it got down into the recovery box, and it was doing precision. That is, so nothing could get through it. And when he got to cleaning up, he'd scrape the sand over this way and that, and took out the very bottom of it. And I could see a lot of this quicksilver escaping him right when he was cleaning it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'd call his attention to it. Yeah, I know, son. I know that. But there was a lot of it escaped. But when he put it in the deep, they put it in the dishwasher and cooked it a while and finally condensed it. They got the quicksilver out.
Mama, where's my
They had
shoes? Well, show me.
quantity there about as big as a hen egg.
Is that right?
Yeah, they kept it smaller than that. And that's there, he drilled this way and that, all through a little tunnel to get the drillings. And then he made an assay and told him how pure it was. And it had a value of $145.
The whole piece.
The whole piece. And they started adding up how much their expense would be if they didn't have any real tables to go by. They didn't know how much it cost them to run that thing I don't believe. They took into account too many other things, like building the schools.
Yeah.
Employing us guys to build the tunnels. I don't know where their figures was, but anyway, Mr. Jensen came up with the bottoms up, but it was a poor investment. But there's little outfits all up through that Boise River at one time, at least. At that time, they were working sand bars on the banks of the Boise River. They was doing it with what they call a cradle.
Yeah.
and they was making they'd make $8, $10 a day doing it. The guy, the farmer that owned the land also owned this right to do this sluicing, or this working, but it was such fine gold, it was what they call flour gold. Meaning it was just fine as flour. So I went to the library and found out how they recovered this flour gold on the end of the sluice box. And it was a camel hair blanket that they would use. It had to be camel hair. The camel hair was kind of long, I guess.
Yeah.
A chance for this quicksilver to settle in there. And the sand would just be washed over this camel hair. But as soon as this flour gold would come in contact with any of this quicksilver, the quicksilver would seal it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think he did have a paying proposition up there, but the reason why they quit was that frost hit. They was really working hard to get a test on the thing before frost hit. The idea of it is when a frost hits, it makes icicles in this sand, and it will carry the gold over anyway, no matter how much quicksilver you got in. But I think it would have been a paying proposition if they'd have taken the proper steps to save the gold.
So where was this at? When was this?
Huh?
When was this you were doing that, Ike?
What I was doing,
Yeah. The quicksilver and all this?
it was placer mining, helping my dad in placer mine up the Boise River. He had, there was a big gravel bar on the other side of a hill, quite a hill. Who am I talking to?
Talking to me.
He's over there.
Who?
Jim.
Oh,
Jim
Jim,
Jones.
I could hear his voice, but couldn't see it. I kept looking at him. Hey, this was wonder if she was looking at us. It was a placer mining situation up the Boise River, 25 miles, or just a little bit above it was 25 miles from Boise, but it was up above the Arrow Rock Dam. I've never been back there, but it's got to be still there.
Yeah, it is.
It is? But he got away with doing something there that they couldn't get away with now. The tailings, his sluicing, was just dumped right into the Boise River. They wouldn't let him get away with that now.
No way.
But he got away with it then.
When was that, Ike?
And when Doris was about a year old. So that would be 52 years ago.
Just a short
Only
time ago.
52
1935 then.
Hmm?
1935.
I didn't hear you.
It'd be 1935.
Was it? Yeah, that sounds like it.
Those placer miners used to, instead of have this retort, they wouldn't bother with the retort, they'd just cook it out. Quicksilver was cheap, but they got, every one of them got salivated eventually. Their hair would fall out. It'd kill them after a while.
Well, wait a minute now. How would they get this gold out of quicksilver?
Burning it, just burn it in a fire. And the fume, mercury fumes, they breathe a certain amount of that. That was they call it salivating. I don't know if that's the right medical term. That's what the miners know it as.
They just burn this quicksilver off?
Yeah.
Gosh, it costs $65 a quart.
Well, yeah, but that's they didn't have a retort. They just put it in the frying pan
Dave, what was quicksilver?
and cook it up.
Mercury.
Just plain old mercury?
Well, it was really nothing, not much of a trick to recover.
No.
It's the same principle as with a twisty still.
Yeah.
The top of this retort was a lid, and this lid had in the center of it had a copper tube that went over here and made several coils around here, and then it dropped down. They put a cold towel on these coils, put this on the fire, and that quicksilver just come through there, and the towel would cool it. It was vapor first, until it hit the cold towel wrapped around it, and then it turned to liquid again.
Yeah. Well, this done the same thing, except it didn't have a coil. The one we had up in Bergdorf, all it was a pot that was tight. You put it in the fire, and so that it was airtight. And then the other end of it, you'd put, instead of a coil, it just went down into a bucket of cold water.
Oh.
And it would get all of the mercury out.
Yes. Yes, that was it.
But a lot of sourdoughs just didn't do anything, but they only had a little bit of amalgam in the bottom. When they get through panning and stuff like that, they don't have a little bit, so they just put it in the fry pan and cook it out. Quicksilver things roll out of there. Yeah.
Cinnabar.
Cinnabar. That's a red, very red colored ore.
Where they got that quicksilver.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking awfully contented in here.
Nap time.
After dinner.
And they're
So-
reminiscing.
How many mines have you guys been associated with over the years with your dad or whoever? Quite a few?
One. This is up Boise River.
See.
Right
No, I got.
Gold Hill.
I was trying to think. I think it must have been 4, but there's Gold Hill, Pioche, Nevada.
Was he in one of them?
Oh yeah, I was there.
I didn't even know he was.
I was a sucker. Huh? What?
What did he have in Pioche?
Oh, he had a gold mine. The Whipple Mountain up there, out of Pioche, not too far. But what happened in this gold mine was that it'd be real rich on top, and it'd be good ore too. But it would in all cases it would peter out after about 4 feet down. You guys would go narrower and narrower and narrower, and finally there wasn't anything left. But it was good ore. It was a sedimentary affair sometime or another, but because there was no true veins there at all. But it was a red ore, but it was real rich in gold. But most of it had been mined out. But Dad thought he could find the big one there. And we dug a lot of holes. Went down to the bottom of each one of these, and mined it, what was left there, until it got too narrow in our mine. And that's where, see if I can remember some of those guys' names.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, Tom Powell. Yeah, you never seen him?
No, I never did.
He always smoked a cigar. He always had a cigar in his mouth, but he never touched a match to it. He left the 12-cylinder Lincoln. It's up there in Pioche, up in the mountain. And I bet I could find the darn thing. But he just left it there. He couldn't fix it. Didn't want to fix it, but he was a reckless son of a gun. He was telling about the lumber operation that he was in one time. And he just got mad at him. He took a drum of gas and put it on the back of his car and opened the lid. Put it on the back of his rig and opened the lid and went down the street, went down the